The Torah says that gives the rules of engagement in war. Torah says kisotzer al ir yomim rabim al latofso. If you're gonna be engaged with a war against the city and you surround the city to capture it, and you shouldn't chop down the trees. From the trees you eat the fruit, you shouldn't chop the trees. A man is like the tree in the field.
It's mean other thing you can do?
Other things you can do, but you can't chop down trees.
Only trees.
If there's a tree that you know that tree is not giving fruit, then you could use that tree, chop it down, and use the tree in order to build ammunition, to build a motzer, a ring around the city in order to capture the city. What is the meaning of the pasuk? Rashi says, what does it mean? Adam etz? You shouldn't chop the tree because the tree is like a man. What does it mean? I mean, in the war they're going to kill men also, right? So what does it mean? Adam etz? So Rashi says, it's a question mark. Shema Adam etz lekonos b'teich hamotza v'nechel l'siyasa b'suri rov v'tzama ke'an she'ir lama tashkeisanu. It's a question. The Torah is saying that the Torah doesn't have punctuation. There's no question marks or exclamation marks in the Torah. The Torah is saying, is the tree like a man? The man you want to kill because they're against you. The man in the city. But the tree, what did he do wrong to you? Why are you gonna chop him down? The men in the city are fighting against you. You chop him down. But the trees, why would you want to chop down the trees? A little bit of a funny way of reading the pasuk. The Ibn Ezra doesn't like that. So he didn't like that pshat. Simple. He said, how are people going to live without having food to eat? Ask Mr. Putin. He'll tell you. The whole way to fight the war is to make sure that the boats from all over the world cannot get to the ports of Ukraine to pick up grain, because Ukraine is feeding 25% of the grain of the world. And if you make sure that people can't get access to grain, and then you make a few fictitious coups in Africa that the Europeans don't have where to get their basic minerals, and then that's so that's the Torah says you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that because that's already that's where everyone eats. You're not allowed. That's not the rules of engagement. Does not allow that you should scorch the trees and chop down the trees. Okay, that's the evidence. Very nice.
Or chop down people's heads.
No, the heads you can chop down.
People's heads.
People's heads. Yeah, that's why you're in war. Why do you think you're in war? To give them chocolate chip cookies? You're in war to chop down the heads. But the question is, what's with the trees? Okay. So I'm showing you. That's what you see from the war right now. That this guy is more desperate to drop down the food supply, to drop down mineral supply coming from Africa to the west, and chopping down the food supply coming from Ukraine to the west. He's more interested in that than chopping down heads. So you see what the Torah is talking about. That's beyond the pale. That's not the rules of engagement. You're not allowed to do that, the Torah says. Anyway, that's a pshat Ibn Ezra. You can understand why the Gemara is now going to have a different way of reading the pasuk. The Gemara in Taina says, teach me something. I have a weak heart and I can't teach you. What does that have to do? He said, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't. When you teach, you have to get in beriska, you have to get involved, you have to ask, you have to answer, you have to argue. It's an engaging thing. It's not it's a shtickle Torah. You gotta learn. No, it's a medrash like we just learned. They put a sword down and they argued it out. It's like for that. Does it take something nice of a God that'll be easy for you? Yeah, that I could do. It says in the pasuk, is a man like a tree in the field. So in other words, the Gemara is asking the same question. What do you mean the man is a tree? And as you see, even in Pshat, all the answers don't add up so well. It's a question mark, even as I said, it's engagement to war that but Gemara doesn't like it. What Gemara is asking? Adam hates asad. Is a man a tree? How could you say a man is a tree? Some trees you're allowed to chop, and some trees you're not allowed to chop. You have to be careful. Rabbi Lerner called me up a few hours ago. He said there's a big project somewhere and they're chopping down trees. So he asked them, who gave you permission, the fruit trees? They said that we asked Rabbi Morazin. So I said, I know the developer. He never asked me, and no one from his company asked me. If he would have asked, I would tell him that it's not I'm not the Rav in that neighborhood, and he should go. And I know who asks me these questions. There were a few yeshivas that asked me. There was Dar Menachem, Beishmuel, other. That's different. It's a yeshiva is trying to expand, and they have a choice of getting it removed with the soil, which is a very expensive proposition. I remember one of them, they called me up. It was about $50,000, and then he was going to have for the whole job, and then he was going to have a couple of amigos do it for $5,000. So the difference is $45,000. Whatever. It's kind of like to help out. I'm not in the business to help developers. But probably, one person says, no, it's a migu, it's a Gilgul Shua. The truth is that we spoke about it, and Kol Yom Rishon, at the time when the person asked me the question, it was 2 years ago about this time. And I mentioned it in one of the questions on the Sunday morning, but I only put myself into it because it was a yeshiva. And every nickel in a yeshiva is $45,000 for the yeshiva. Yeah, that's money. Yeah. So anyway, the pasuk says sometimes you're allowed to cut, sometimes you're not allowed to cut, and depends. And the Torah gives you, it says I'm all nish, and Chazal flesh it out when yeah, when not. But the Gemara is now going to go in Agadata. The Gemara is going to say sometimes you cut it, sometimes you don't. What does it mean? Im Talmid Chacham Hagunu. If he's a Talmid Chacham who's Hagun, he's good midas, a good person. From him, you shouldn't go away. You should learn from him. If he's not a Talmid Chacham, he's not a good person, even though he's a Talmid Chacham, he's a brilliant scholar. Don't learn from him. Why? Rashi says, if he's a proper, he's a good man, he's a good person, he's a refined person, learn from him. Go away from him, don't learn from him.
I got a problem about Adam is a Sadeh. You're saying it only if you go to a war.
The Gemara now is not saying about the war. The Gemara is now saying a different.
But here it's
that was the pshat. The Gemara is saying I got it a different pshat, not talking about war. Every time you're learning, you have to make sure that you're learning from a Talmid Chacham Hagun. The Ben Ish Chai says, "Nirali b'siyayta d'shmaya apima shomer rabbeinu Sichos and shel Talmid Chacham tzichatam." Pirush Talmid Chacham yam divrei chol shel yilmado olam yida v'chacham. Zeh heini el b'Talmid Chacham Hagun shu tzadik. Mimenu toichel mimenu daiker. Oitzem aguf or eitz toichel she eitz eroi lachila. Chutz men aperis. Geen goede beshen hagen. Van met zaait kosher hagen. La mafreya is noige. Shemeir lo elam. Shahakel nani mimen. The Ben Ish Chai is asking, what does it mean Talmud Chacham hagen? The word, what does the hagen mean? So he says that the pshat is like this, that the Talmud Chacham, it was the same thing. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, if all four of them are Talmid Chacham, they'll teach you the same Gemara. What's the difference to Reuven or Shimon? They're both brilliant Talmid Chacham, they'll teach you the Gemara. But besides the Gemara, they're also going to talk about other things, right? A little bit of Sichos Chulin they'll talk about. And a person who's a Talmid Chacham Hogun means like this, that we just like we said, that there's some fruits that the Eibishter created the world. I'm just explaining what the Ben Ish Chai is saying.
Yes.
The Eibishter made that all the trees should have a taste, and the trees got punished because they didn't listen to the Eibishter. There are a few trees that did listen to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Oh, Abu Tovin, Meredna van Talmud Chacham Hogan, that's the gleiche rein.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
I'm the one.
It's kein Sinn, dass viele gewinnen bei der Verbringen. Das Sicher, wem bist du gewinnen? Du bist gewinnen, efter Vaeda in Lametes, in 70? Most likely bist gewinnen viele bei der Sicher. There's a few trees that are left over that the Tama, the ate some Piri Yeshova, like cinnamon. Cinnamon taka, cinnamon is the tree itself. They dry it, and we learned about it last year.
Yes.
The brachas, and then they now it's because I was just spent a day in going. So one of the things I was fascinated because everything in the taka, they make the cinnamon they make from the tree, but the leaves and the little branches I took in my pocket. Then I got lost. I wanted to bring it in, and I couldn't find it now before this year. I took a few pieces off the tree to bring it to you. Every part of the cinnamon tree has a smell of cinnamon.
The bark, the bark is where
the cinnamon they make from the actual tree. But every part of that tree, if you put it in your mouth, you put it to your nose, it's cinnamon. So it's an unusual thing. So that's what the Ben Ish Chai is saying, that a Talmud Chacham, all of them have the same peiros. They teach you the same daf, beis, and Gemara Shabbos. But when it comes to his character, the guf, mimenu, he himself, what is he himself? Is he himself tasty? Oh, so yes, something like that. But like, is he? So if he himself is hagun, which oisis lamafrei is noiga, he's shining, his body itself is shining, then you should learn Torah from him. Okay. Huh? Noiga. Klippas noiga means it's a negative because it's a klippa, and the redeeming factor is noiga. It's shining through, a little bit of light shines through. The noiga is the good part of it.
Noiga means shining.
Noiga means shining. It's a klippa. A little bit of light shines through. The bad word is the klippa. The noiga is the good word. And the Miri writes, "Av b'shekol b'nei adam roy lahem la'ater atzvam b'midasem latamid chom roy b'yoyis." That a Talmud Chacham more has to work on his midas. The Tzach Somer Shnechom Shogen Doimel Tal Shenan Mekotz B'Av B'Shom Mas Midlove B'Chol Yom. Many Hogen Doimel Motor Shav B'Shen Bol Item Adam Kotz B'Y Takef Shenas Omenem Asher Tzarech Lebrius Be'Hechrich Gusham Yaref Ka Motor V'Kesiv Tezel Katal Talmud Chacham Hogen Talmud Chacham Sheini Hogen. That people love the tal, the dew. It's because it doesn't bother anyone when it rains. It's a headache. You gotta get an umbrella. Even though we all need rain, but we roll our eyes when the rain is coming. We need rain. It's a headache. You get dirty. You get muddy or whatever. That's the teva pneoda. So Talmud Chacham Hagun is like tal. Hashanah Hagun is like mot. There's a beautiful sicha from the Rebbe. And even though you can learn up that sicha when it comes to Flishos above, because that's usually, but you can learn up the sicha when we're learning the parsha. What's the difference? You can learn the sicha either way. The Rebbe asks, so what's the shail in the Gemara? The Gemara asks a question. Like the Gemara has a question and an answer. So you learn Pirkei Yavos, right? The Mishnah says in Perek Gimel. There's a lot of chazal, but to take example, the Mishnah at the end of the third Perek, that the Mishnah gives a whole description that a person that has a lot of meisim tovim, even if his wisdom is not so big, is like a tree that has very thick roots, and he stands straight. And lo yiruk b'shnas hatzoros yasaperi. That he. All right, exactly. It's from the first Gavit Tehillim. And if it's the other way, then it's a little wind comes and knocks him down. Okay, so and all over Chazal, there's all kinds of things where a person learns from a tree.
By the way, it also mentions this in Pirkei Avot too.
And then to chapter 3, exactly. Exactly. So what the Gemara obviously is asking, the Gemara is saying, but is a person compared to a tree in a full way? A person can learn from the monkeys too. We have to learn from the chosel and the mullah. We have to learn good midas from the cat too. We have to learn diligence from the little namola, from the ants. So everything in the world teaches us a lesson. And Gemara is saying, what are you special learning that you're comparing a person completely to a tree? That it's like, wow, that this is mamish, that a person is not only a detail, something to learn, the person is mamish like a tree.
But what people don't understand is there's Hashem in everything. There's a Hashem in the tree, there's a Hashem in
everything. So what's so special about the tree?
We're really learning the tree from animals.
Huh?
We're learning the tree from humans, not
right. Exactly. So
the tree,
why is it so?
The tree grows. So we have to go to
we also have to grow. But there are details. So the Rebbe says that like this. And B'chlal, we say that Siddur says, the Alter brings the Torah at the beginning of Torah, that a person has is a little called Olam Cotton, a little world, a reflection of everything goes in the big world. And the person has an Doime, Sameach, Chaim, Medaber. So why are we picking? A person has, the Alter Rebbe says that the midas in the person is like the doima, the seichel is the chai. So why are we picking so much on the eights, and we're making such a big deal out of the eights, which is the tzemech? So the Rebbe says like this. First of all, you have if you look at what the difference of a tzemech and a chai is, everything that's in this world could move from here to there. Even though the Gemara says as mashal about the fish, that the fish could only live b'makam chiyusam, but the fish at the end of the day and the water are two separate things. But the trees always has to be connected to its source. So in the tree you see that his life is always coming from its source. Yeah. And even though that the fish are totally covered by the water, so but on the other hand, there's a mile on the tree that even if it grows tall to the sky, but it doesn't matter how tall it grows, it always must be connected. And it has to have strong, big roots in order to live. And another thing, fish is not every individual fish is not so connected to its habitat. Theoretically, it can go somewhere else. But a tree, you can't just yank a tree out of it. If you take a tree, you got to take it with sand. It's a very big kunst to move a tree, because if you don't know what you're doing, you might kill the tree. Even if you think you're taking some soil with the tree, you really got to know what you do when you move a tree. So the tree is very connected to its source. Last in this a year in the summer, we were learning about the 3 opinions about the tree. What does it make? How do you tell the difference between a tzemach and a tree? And the Alter Rebbe gave 3 opinions. You don't replant it. Not only you don't replant it, but the trunk stays from year to year. And the 3rd opinion, not only the trunk is staying from year to year, but the branches that give out the pedas also stay from year to year. That's why we say Adam eitz hasada. We could say tzemach hasada. The Torah wants to say, because by a tree you see the most how it doesn't matter day to day, month to month, year to year. It's constantly growing, but only because it's connected to its source. Other things get cut and replanted. But with a tree, there's trees that could last. There's some trees in this world. There's a tree that lasts about 1,000 years. It's in Africa. There's that. That's a yotzim in a cloud. But there's a certain type.
It's in the Mojave Desert.
Right.
Yeah.
that they have they retain a lot of water in it, like those big fat.
They hid where it's located. So people to come and set up.
Anyway, but there are trees
Yeah.
that last, and it's an unbelievable thing that you see that they're connected to their mokum of their chayis, where they come from. Okay, we say by a person has the midas. The Alter Rebbe says is compared to tzomeach, and seichel is compared to chay. Why? Because midas grows mekatlos lagadlos. A baby is very excited about a lali. I'm very disappointed because he asked for this thing and he didn't get it, or he didn't get it quick enough. And once he didn't get it quick enough, and the baby starts crying, and it's a crying fest until we put him to sleep. The next morning, he forgets about it. So, right, and then an adult, the midas grow, mekatnos lagadlos, but they don't change so much. They don't go from here to there. A person who is a Baal Chesed, like Chazal say, butzim mekat yediyah, that the vegetables, that the cucumbers or whatever, the cabbages, when they're small, you could already taste them. You'll know how they are when they're bigger. So a person doesn't change so much. Now, it doesn't mean it's not possible that a person should change. It's definitely possible. We learned this winter, the Medrash Chazal, that says that there are certain plants that Dafka, when you pick it up, the dafka, certain plants, you have to dig it up. It's a big job with the sand. You take the soil, you put it in a bag, and you bring it b'makam acher, and over there it's mishbachas. But it's a big avoid. It's a big avoid, and it's very expensive. You need machinery for it. It's a big to do. Balchai moves from here to there. Seichel, a person could understand things different. I could see a different person's perspective. It's easier for a person to seichel, see someone else's perspective, even though that's the opposite of their perspective. But when it comes to feelings, people don't change so much. A person that's more on the side of chesed will stay on the side of chesed. A person that's more on the side of gvura will stay on. That's why the midas express more what the person really is. When you want to know when a person's really is you see it in their midos more than you see it in their seichel, more an expression who the person really is. That's why the Alter Rebbe says, there's a maimed that the Middle Rebbe said his father told him that the father told this, that says Al Totzeres Moyev, that when the Yidden are conquering Eretz Yisrael, they should conquer the land of the 7 nations and not the 3 nations. The Alter Rebbe told the Middle Rebbe that the land of the 7 nations, Maramas and the 7 midas. The job now, until Mashiach comes, is to rewire our midas, to rewire the heart. But the brain is not so important. You could learn it in 2 ways. In a way, it's more delicate, so it's harder to rewire. On the other hand, it's not necessary because it's gefährlich. We don't care that much about this avodah. Mashiach will come. We'll deal with that. And it's the moyach is shalat al alev. You don't have to rewire the moyach. It's not avodas hamoyach. The angry person could understand. But he has charot, but the second when he finishes blowing up, you understand. So the problem is not so much in his havana. It's really a midas issue. It's not so much a seichel issue. There could be people that have a seichel issue too, but it's more usually with people. It's more a how do you translate what's in the moyach into the leiv? We loosely use moyach and leiv. I mean, we're putting an address to midas and leiv, and we're putting an address to moyach and the brain. So the Alter Rebbe said,
now.
I mean,
Separate.
yeah. But the Alter Rebbe said that's the bottom line. There is a beautiful thing from the Alter Rebbe that the Alter Rebbe said. There's several stories about this. And first, there's the Frierdiker Rebbe told us in the Fabrengen that there was a note that the Tzemach Tzedek wrote that in the year Tov Kuf Samaches, whatever, that's like 4 or 5 years before his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, passed away. He asked the Alter Rebbe, "Ma'u inyan Chassidus? What's Chassidus?" And the Alter Rebbe adds a small note. And the Alter Rebbe told me that Chassidus is Lashana Teva Medoisa. So the Frierdiker Rebbe explains what 5 years before the Alter Rebbe passed away. The Alter Rebbe was already not a young man. Chassidus Chabad was already a big movement. The Alter Rebbe by then already had published the Tanya. Already had said thousands and thousands of Maimor. He had hundreds of thousands of Yidden that were already noyeg his way, his palal and his siddur, and wearing his and that's what he wrote Likkutei Torah. And he's asking a funny question, and he wrote a note to himself to remember the answer. Ma'in Chassidus, and the Alter Rebbe answered me. Chassidus is l'shana teva midoisa. So the Frierdiker Rebbe answered that this obviously he knew that Chassidus is chochma lakis, chochma nestora, but that wasn't his question. The question was, how does it translate? How do you see that it affects a person? Well, how are you going to know that you learned chochma nestora in the way that it really affected you? Alter Rebbe says that how do you know when you see that you changed teva midoisa? And Frierdiker Rebbe explained that there's a big difference between midoisa vativim and teva midoisa. And he doesn't explain why. So there's several sichos from the Rebbe where it sounds like almost a play of words. Are you changing teva midoisa or midoisa vativim? It's the same thing. So the Rebbe explains like this. Well, if you say a person is changing midoisa vativim, his natural midas, naturally a person likes to sleep, to eat, and to relax. So instead of that, he replaces it with holy midas. But if he was born, say, with a set of only holy midas, all he likes to do is to learn and to daven. So he's nothing to do. He has no job. Most of us are not born that way, but naniach, yeah. To be mishana teva midoisa means you can have only holy midas. All your midas is kedusha shebe kedusha. Makes no difference. You have to change teva midoisa. The teva doesn't matter that it's holy. Doesn't matter. Take a shovel and start working. You have to change teva midoisa. That's what we find. The Rebbe says there's a Baal Shem Tov said it. And I from the Rasag, but the Rebbe says really it's a pasuk mefurish. Lech lecha ma'artcha malatecha beisaviska l'ortzel asher areko. Even the pshat. Avraham Avinu already left Ur Kasdim a long time ago. He left the place of Avodah Zorah. And now the Eibusha told him, Lech lecha me'artzecha malatecha beisavicha l'ortzel asher areko. Turn off your brain and just start walking. Walk. Where? Walk. I'll tell you where to go. Walk. If we learn up Chassidus, Lech lecha me'artzecha means from your rotzen, meilatecha means from your midas, and beisavicha means your rot seichel. Go away from everything you know till now. Avraham Avinu was already 75 years old. He already spread the lakus that there's Eibishter from the age of 3, or maybe from the age of this, or whatever. By the age of 40, l'chol hadayis, he was already convincing the whole world to follow the Eibishter. So from the age of 40 to 75, it's been a nice couple of years, and it's been. And he's been doing nothing but publicizing that there's the Eibush in the Welt. In the way of the Siddur Nefesh, they almost killed it. Still, the Eibush says, now, what happened now? Now the Eibush gave him the job, Lashanas Teva Midoisa. Teva Midoisa. He has good midas, godly midas, but the Eibush wants to should be Meshana them. Because now he's doing Tzivi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's changing them. Yeah. So that's the one of the stories that the Frierdiker Rebbe told Bekesher to this is that there was a chassid Alter Rebbe. His name was Zalman Zezmer, and he was a murdered Talmid Chacham. He was a Lamda Muflag, and he's also had unbelievable midas toivus. And he had a good friend, and his friend said, "You're the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, okay." Send his God will be Yisrael, but what's the chiddush of his Torah? What's the chiddush of Chassidus? So Bekitzer, the Zalman said, you know what? Go to the Alter Rebbe and ask him the question yourself. So he went to the Alter Rebbe and he asked the Alter Rebbe what. The Alter Rebbe told him like this: there's Balei Chaim that have midas. But it's all beteva. The oirev is a achzori. That's the teva. It's not his fault. The nesher is a rachamoni, beteva. It's not his credit. That's the teva. That's the way the Eibishter made. Kenesha yorikina v'algois lo v'yirachiv. That's what the Eibishter made. By a person, the midas has to be that he wired the midas based on his mind. That's what the Eibishter wanted. Lazakas as Yisrael, that their midas should make up their midas, and not they should be good midas because they were born with midas. It's good to be born with good midas. It's not out there saying it's great. We all love to be born with good midas, but a person has to work on himself. So this was a Yida Talmud Chochem. He was not a little child, and like all of a sudden, it was for some reason that I guess the kedusha of the Alter Rebbe, he was sitting in front of the Alter Rebbe. All of a sudden, like it came into his mind that his whole life he's living like a behemoth. What does it mean a behemoth? Not chas v'shalom, that he was thinking to himself. All of a sudden, like it occurred to him, I'm a good person, Taka. But did I ever work on my goodness? I had good parents, and I'm a good person, but the behemoth, a good behemoth, and I chalished. And when he got up, so the Alter Rebbe told him, the Chassidus is the Pshat Shema Yisrael. Shema is Rosh Tevesu Morim Einech. It says Morim, not Shemayim. What the Ibn Ezra says Morim means. Huh? What?
It wouldn't fit. To my
So, Morim. Oh, no, it's true. But he's furthermore saying that Morim means that Gavoya v'yoyse Gavoya. A Yid has to get to higher than Seichel and bring it into Seichel. And that's a Pshat Urumi Bora'ela. I'm not sure what's the connection of the further. This is the way the Alter Rebbe told the story. There's a Pshat here. So now, this word is taka from the Baal Shem Tov. So there is the Degel Machna Ephraim brings that it says, Vayishma Moshe v'yipav al ponav. And Chazal say, Mashmu Shama b'nafal al ponav, Amr Shimon, Amr Yochanan and Chashdu, whatever, they were chosheh them to do the worst things, that he was doing the worst things in the world. Every person said, if the Chas v'Shalom involved with the Eish Ish. So, Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what the Chazal say. It's a Gemara, it's an Eden, Daf Kuf Yud. So it's effective the Shaila. And there's all similar to Medish Tanchuma. Moshe Rashi also brings it. He doesn't say such terrible things, but he says that whenever he would go to his tent, they would say, "What do you think? This guy is always planning bad things against you." So the simple reading is that the Eden were terrible people. That they were clowns. Here's Moshe Rabbeinu that devoted his whole life in the city's nefesh from when he was a youngster. When he went out to Yarbis and Loisa, and he put his life on the line for Klal Yisrael, and all they could do is say lashon hara and terrible things about it, terrible. So the Baal Shem Tov, he said that the Baal Shem Tov says V'bitu achrei Moshe. They looked at Moshe. Moshe, if you ever looked at Moshe, he was a scary guy. The Mokamayim Chaim here. This is said that there is Svarim that bring such a story that there was a Melech that heard about Moshe Rabbeinu, and he heard that Moshe Rabbeinu did ploas and ploas, and he sent a person to paint the picture of Moshe Rabbeinu. And they came back with the picture, and he looked at the picture, and he was totally unimpressed. It looked to him like a really tough guy, not like this guy who was not the sweetie pie that he was thinking, this dedicated shepherd. He did not look like a dedicated shepherd. So it looked like he was a terrible guy. So he sent another message to Moshe to find out what's going on. So Moshe Rabbeinu told him that you don't see, because you're looking just at the face, and my nature that I was born with, that's the way it was. But I worked on myself, and therefore I became a good person. It doesn't jive that well with the Befedish Gemara and the Smala Bais Kula, whatever. Shine. Could be. It could be one thing, the other thing. Yeah. Right.
Rabbi, we know that Miriam was talking bad about Moshe Rabbeinu, how she had.
But that's something else. That was already. Listen,
Bad.
she had something to say. That was already a juicy piece of lashon hara. It was a good one. But this is like a pelavi. They say. So it's not because it's really. So we see from this that a person really could change. Really could change. Teva midoisa. A person could change. So bottom line is. This is what the Alter Rebbe is saying. The Alter Rebbe is saying is to the Mittler Rebbe that the main avodas Hashem was is to change teva midoisef. Not so much to rewire the seichel, is really our avodah really is to change teva midoisef. And that says the Rebbe. That's the idea of Adam Eitz Asada. By a eitz, the eitz is the avodas Hashem of midos. That a person has to work on their midos. We're saying im Talmud Chochem Hagunu. It's not good enough that he's a Talmud Chochem. It has to be also Hagun. Hagun means that he has good midas.
We learned in the Alter Rebbe that the Chachma has to penetrate the heart, and has to become part of the person. So they're actually doing the midah and not just thinking about it.
Right, but we're also saying that this is the main part of it. That's what we're saying. Adam Eitz Asada.
Yeah.
Because this avodah of working on the midas is not just another detail.
Yeah.
This is Kizek Kol Adam. This is the whole thing why the Eibishter wants us.
Yeah.
This is our avodas Hashem, to work on Teva Midoisa. So therefore, it makes sense. That's what the Gemara is asking. The Gemara asked the question, Ki Adam Eitz Asada. You could say that there's a lot of things that we learn from animals, from fish, from trees, from grain. We learn from everything. But there's something unique about, the Gemara answers that there's something unique about Eitz Asada, that even though he's a Talmud Chochem, but it has to be a Talmud Chochem Hagun, that he's working on his midas. That's a Pshat Hagun. The Rebbe says, we see that also. The Gemara says, Ein Koren La'avisel V'shloish, Avram Yitzchak V'Yaakov. And all the Sifrei Ayira, starting from the Zohar HaKodesh, all say that Avram represents midah of Avas Hashem, Yitzchak represents the midah of Yidus Hashem, and Yaakov represents the midah of Rachmanus, and these are the three midas that we get B'Teva and Afshiseinu from Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. But we never said that we beget any of the lomdas from Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Probably that Avram was given a great salam. And Yitzchak was Okem v'Yosef Yeshiva, he was a Rosh Yeshiva. And Yaakov doesn't mean, just because they were Rosh Yeshivas, doesn't mean that me and you are Rosh Yeshivas. But it means for sure that every one of us takes from Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yerusha, the midah of Abba, Yira, and Acher. That's why Kizek Kol Adam. This is the main thing. That's the main thing in life. So bottom line is that we have to take Zok the Rebbe, that we've taken a lesson from this, that and on two levels. Those that are working and most of the day there, that you have to try to be connected like a tree. And that was a nice thing that person hopefully was fortunate to learn in yeshiva for a couple of years. So a person always has to go back to that that nakuda, that where the shoroshim are. On the other hand, there's Yoshvei Oyel that are fortunate to learn. But for them, the lesson is very simple. That have to know that besides the Indian of being a Talmud Chacham, he does the work has to be an Talmud Chacham Hagen. Oh, by the way, since before I finish off, there's a beautiful story that caught my eye from Rabbi Biderman. So Melech Biderman always has beautiful stories. He says a story about his Zayda, and his Elta Zayda, Reb David Biderman. I love it, yeah. So that Purim, there was one of the Chassidim came to give him Shalach Monos. This guy, this wonderful guy. Problem is, it was a Moededik cast. So this time, the Lulav Rebbe decided to put him in his place. He said, Reb Ruben, I'm not taking your Shalach Monos. He said, why? He said, if you give me a guarantee, you're not going to be a Kaisen. I take Yishalach Manas. Otherwise, I'm not taking Yishalach Manas. I said, oh, listen, I can try my best. Well, I don't know. You have to give me a kiss. You're not going to be a kais. So the guy got very angry and he walked out. But Fartz, it was bothering him. Here, he had an opportunity that the tzaddik should take Shalach Manas from him. So before Shkia, he ran and he was so angry. He was so angry at the Lulav ever. He plopped the Shalach Manas down on the table and he said, "This is the last time I'm getting angry." The Lulav ever took the Shalach Manas from him, and from then on, Taka. Everyone noticed that he was a new person.
Wow.
He worked in himself, and he worked in himself, and he worked in himself. And Taka, he was Mishanis Teva, and he was Taka Menishke Kaisen and Menishke Nagza. So that's the Avodas Hashem of Odom Eitz Asoda. Odom Eitz Asoda is that unique. The Gemara says a person is an eitz that we learn from everything. No, but the Avodas Hashem of Midas, which is compared a person of Dom Tzmeich Chaim Adaber, but the idea of Tzemeach, especially the idea of Elon, is the Midas. That's a very strong theme in our Avodas Hashem. We're starting now Chodesh Elul. We're starting with Pasha Shoftim called the Eitz Asoda.
Amen.
Definitely, this is the avodah of Chodesh Elul. We should be matzliach, and our avodah should be tzivach simatayv v'shana tayv v'mesukah.
Amen.
Mazal Tov to Eliran Dahan.
Oh yeah,
He had a baby boy Friday night.
Mazel.
Oh no, Mazel Tov.
He had a twin, but one baby didn't make it.
Oh no.
So one baby. Oh Hashem.
Oh, Hashem.
Wow.
He called me to let me know why he called me. Because he told me every day ago, my wife was pregnant. I told him you have twins. That's why he called me to tell me I had twins, but one of them died. So Bezrat Hashem, in the hospital, under you, and they're taking care of the baby.
I can't. Wow.
Dahan, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not Dahan from Muncie.
Oh, what's that?
And he ran Dahan. He used to come here, but
Yeah.
move around. Leave after Nostra, York Avenue. I'm in contact. I call him Russian Shabbat.
So the whole way is so good.
Baby supper.
Why would not when you sit there and say, why do you talk so late for that?
I think this is all part. I think that it comes down to because avoid the samidus is there's Hitzonius Amidus and Pnimius Amidus, like the sort of the Midas Lamaisa, the Maisa B'Koyach, which is easy to change, to rewire. Hitzonius Amidus is also a little easier to rewire, like Midas Magunas, or Kas, or Gaiva, are easier to rewire. But the Oimek Amida, like the Alter Rebbe says, that there was Pilakshu Shmora Uma. So, the Chazal say why is it so important to say we read it up in the Kriyas Torah of Rosh Hashanah. It's Pilak Shmor Uma. So Chazal say tell you that there was so Tumas Olam was so wanted to be Dovuk and Avram Yitzchak Yaakov that if they couldn't marry in, they tried to become a Pilagish. So the Alter Rebbe says that this is not a good thing. We want a relationship that's deeper than a pilegis. That the Yid, that Avodah Hashem is that he does Avodah Hashem, and he's taka a good person, but he feels satisfaction inside. And in a way, like the story with the Rizal that he said he came to the Alshich. The Alshich was darshaning about it was a Pashan Torah. It was the villain and the good guy. The Chves was Moshe and Dosan Vavirim. It wasn't that. It was another one. I forget what duo was. It was Lovan, very good. It was Lovan and Yaakov, Ken sein, yeah. So, it's good, sure. So it was Lovan and Yaakov. That is my boy in the middle of walked out. So he said, why did you walk out? So he said, because when the Rosh was so beautiful that Yaakov Avinu was listening and Lavan was listening. Elamai, at some point, the Alshach felt tremendous satisfaction that he darshaning so well. So Yaakov Avinu couldn't stand that a little bit of the satisfaction. Yaakov Avinu couldn't stand. So Yaakov Avinu got up and left. So who has left Lavan? I wasn't interested in staying in the room with Lavan. So that Re'uma is Re'uma, that he says to himself, Gibakuk, ich bin a Yeshuma, ich bin a Epis. So the male, that's avoid this not of Isha, that's avoid the Bilagish. So Pnimi Samidus is harder to, it takes a little more, I think that's Taka the Chiddush out there, saying to someone said, that Emes Taka, it's a lot of Loichin, but Emes said, comes down to help a person rewire the Pnimi Samidus.
Can Pneumonia Satora be helpful to rewire our Pneumonia Samidot?
Yeah, that's what it's that's why we need to use it for.
Wow.
David, I like the picture. It's really nice. Good night. Thank you everyone that's joining us. Oh wow, we have a big oilam that's joining us.
Victor,